Welcome back to the Triathlon Nutrition Academy podcast. I'm Taryn. I'm an advanced sports dietitian and retired age group triathlete myself, here to help you train harder, recover faster, and perform at your best. Now, I have two big pieces of news for you. Number one, I have literally come out of my cupboard. Literally. So if you watch along on YouTube, you may see that I am sitting at my desk. And it is something that I've been thinking about doing for a long time because I set up the podcast in my cupboard. So our little walk-in area on the way to the bathroom where we put our clothes. There is the best sound in there with the microphone that I have to make sure the audio quality is super good, super meant for you guys, because there is nothing worse than wrapping poor quality audio around your ear holes. Now, doing that and setting that up is an absolute punish. I have to go borrow the rug from the toy room to put down on the floor. I have to set up a desk that I have to carry in there and try not to smash the walls on the way in, layer it up with boxes to get everything to the right height. I put the microphone on a shoebox. I get the outside chair and then put a cushion on it. And it is just hot and sweaty and not a comfortable place to record. So I've been looking for ages to try and get out to be able to record at my desk. And in the Black Friday sales, I brought this sexy new microphone that hopefully sounds just as mint and allows me to sit at my desk to record these episodes, which is just so good. The only spanner is that my house is not particularly quiet, and right now there is construction going on outside my office window, so hopefully there's not a lot of banging going on through this episode. Apologies in advance if you do hear that. The second big piece of news is we are well into Triathlon Nutrition Academy Open Week, and it has been so much fun. I ran Endurance Essentials at the beginning of the week. It was 2 days of live training with me. We had some awesome education and conversations with triathletes from all over the world, just really setting them up with some good foundations for their nutrition to make sure they start 2025 in the best possible state that they can. Now that has finished, but you can go and catch the replays and the recordings if you want. If you go to dietitianapproved.com/essentials, it'll take you to the page to check out, and it'll give you instant access to the library to watch both the day 1 and day 2 recording. So you can go and do that if you like. I'm closing Academy doors down on Monday morning my time, right before school goes back, because then the chaos begins again. This week was pretty full on and pretty big, but it is so much fun being able to help triathletes with their nutrition. Now, today's topic for the podcast is an episode that I think is really important for you as a triathlete. It's going to make or break your performance, which is why your training plan isn't enough to start smashing your goals and to reach what you actually think you're capable of, or what your body is actually capable of. So if you've ever felt like you do all the training, but you're not seeing the results, whether that is in performance and times and, getting on the podium, or even if it's just body composition, you're not reaching what you want to or what you're capable of achieving, then spoiler alert, nutrition is probably the missing piece in the puzzle for you. So one of the most important things to think about is the big picture of triathlon is your training program is really like your blueprint for how to do all the things that you need. So hopefully you've got a coach or some sort of training program, or you have connected in with the squad. So your training is quite strategic. We don't sort of do a lot of, if you've got a good program, then hopefully you're not doing a lot of junk miles. You're actually training, and each session has a goal to help you become fitter, faster, whatever it is you're trying to work on. Often you'll do a block where you'll do, say, a swim block to improve your swim leg, or you might do, like me, I suck at running. I did a big run block at one point to try and build my running and get better at running. So we have this very systematic and structured training program that we follow to the T, because we are high-performing, high-achieving individuals. Hello, I am one also. But nutrition really is the fourth discipline of triathlon. You've got to swim, you've got to bike, you've got to run, and you also need to make sure you're eating to support that. Without the foundation of those things, you can't do and achieve what your mind sets to if you haven't got those good foundations in place. Now, a lot of triathletes have the training side down pat, right? You've got that nailed. You like to make your training peaks go green, or you would like to get unicorns, or you like to do all those little carrot danglers that training platforms have for you to make sure you are consistent and compliant with your program. Maybe you've dropped a fair amount of cash on your trusty steed, your bike, and you've used that to help you get faster. There is a massive difference even in just the wheels that you ride on and the tires that you use. So it's spending money on things that are actually going to push the needle and make you a faster athlete. But what is often letting people down is their nutrition, because so many athletes smash themselves with no regard for how they're fueling and recovering from those sessions that they've smashed themselves from. Now, we only adapt, so we only get fitter and faster from the sessions that we're recovering from. Nutrition is a big part of that, but so is sleep and all the other recovery processes that you should be doing as a triathlete. Now, I always love to talk about this little sweet spot, this zone where we get all of our training right, and it's periodized, and we're doing all the things that we need to build our weaknesses and get faster and fitter. And our nutrition, we want to align those two together like two big circles. It's like a Venn diagram. And that little overlap in the middle, that sweet spot there, I call that the supercharged zone. That, my friend, is where the magic happens. When you've got your nutrition right and laid into your training, then all of those beautiful adaptations that training program is built for is allowed to happen. Your body can relax into it. It can push hard when it needs to. It recovers quickly so that you can back up and go and train again. But without that, then you're not going to be reaching the potential of your program because you haven't got the right foundations in place. Now, I love teaching triathletes how to do that through the Triathlon Nutrition Academy program. It is like my happy place when people are like, I get it now. I cannot believe I wasn't doing this before. Or I thought I was eating really well. I thought I was eating healthy, thought I was recovering. And then it's not until they're taught how to do things properly for them that they're like, oh my gosh, I wish I had done this earlier. I wasn't doing anywhere close to what I should be doing, but I now know better. So I don't want you to waste time. I don't want you to waste energy. I don't want you to waste money doing things that are not worth it and not working for you, and doing sort of junk miles and training that is not giving you the best bang for your buck out of it. Like, let's be the high-performing, high-achieving individuals we are. And you might associate that with training, with your work life, with your family life, but you also need to associate that with your nutrition because it is often the missing link for so many people. So some common mistakes I see triathletes make with their nutrition, there is many. I've seen it all, working with triathletes for decades now, from grassroots beginners all the way up to Kona winners and people that are racing at the Olympics. I have seen it all. There is not much that I haven't seen. But the biggest one, and what I'm so passionate about getting you to even get your mind and your head around, is fueling correctly. A lot of triathletes don't fuel the right way or enough, or sometimes it's enough, but other times it's not enough. And then sometimes it's way too much. So it's getting the right nutrition that's strategic to your training program. And maybe you are in the camp of being afraid of carbohydrate or afraid of overfueling, whether that is from a dieting background or you're worried about gut upset, and so you kind of pull back. And maybe you're just not sure what to eat. But either way, underfueling can lead to bonking, low energy availability, and just struggling to finish strong, which is not what we want when we have 3 sports to do in one race. We want to be finishing that run as strong as possible and being to run through that finish line feeling like you could keep going forever, or you've got a massive smile on your face. That's another key performance indicator for me, is that you've crossed the finish line and like you want to be spent, you want to be tired and fatigued, but you could feel like you could keep going, and also that you're not in the absolute hurt locker. You're not like holding back vomit that's just, right at your mouth. You haven't stopped at the Portaloo 50 million times and wasted time trying to pull a wet and sweaty tri-suit back on and struggled with that. So that is a big one. Like, that is a huge topic, and it's not something that you can fix overnight either. Like, throwing more fuel at something is not always the answer. One of my athletes did that. He just kept increasing his fueling on the bike and going like crazy levels, and it didn't actually fix anything. So it's about understanding how much you need and really finessing that for you, because his problem wasn't actually fueling. His problem was hydration and sodium. So it's really about understanding all the levers that you can pull and that you need to get right to optimize your nutrition. The second big mistake is recovery, and doing a really poor job of that. I feel like I bang on about recovery constantly. If you've been listening to this podcast for a while, then I talk about recovery nutrition all the time, and it is so important and so key to optimize your training plan as a triathlete. And that's because you don't have the luxury of time to recover. You don't have 1 to 2 days to sit around and relax and let the body recover on its own. You need to be so aggressive with your nutrition so that you can kind of fast track your recovery to back up and go again in generally less than 8 hours, or, the next morning or that evening. It is very rapid training when you have to fit 3 sports into a week. So something that you need to get right and early in your triathlon career. It is not something that you want to dabble in or wing it for a long period of time, because what you do around your training sessions, I call it bookends, what you do before and after has some of the biggest impact on your training outcomes for that session, but also your overall recovery, because it is a big picture plan. We've got all of your nutrition for that day that sets up the next day and the next day and the next day. And it's mistakes, say early on in a week, that will rear their ugly heads often at the end of the training week, when often you've got those big long endurance sessions to absorb and you just don't have the energy and the stamina to do them. And so you're not getting the most out of those long sessions because you haven't prepared for them adequately. Okay, so you're getting the picture here. You can do a 6-hour ride and then you can waste the whole rest of your day on the couch being absolutely shattered because your glycogen stores are empty. Well, not empty, but very, very low. And then you're on the back foot again when the week starts all over again. So it's this big vicious circle. The third mistake I see you making as a triathlete is relying so heavily on supplements to meet your needs, or at least give you a bit of a Band-Aid or, a little comforter to think that you're doing a good job with nutrition. So much of that stuff doesn't actually do what it says on the label. We need to think of supplements as a supplement to the diet. They aren't our foundation. We need to supplement our foundation with things if we need to, if we're deficient or we're in a high-risk group or something like that, where we're trying to rectify or prevent a problem. They aren't forming the foundations of our vitamin and mineral intake. Now, don't get me started on those greens powders. We don't know if the nutrition that goes into those is still there after it's been heavily processed and manufactured in a factory. I don't think anyone at this time of recording has done batch testing of those products to go, okay, this is what we think is in it. Let's see what is actually in it when we test the product after manufacture, because nutrition information panels are built by putting the ingredients into a database and it spits out that information for you. But I don't know about you, but in my mind, if you heavily process something like strawberries or an apple or spinach, you expose it to heat, you expose it to chemicals, because our cell walls are so delicate and our water-soluble vitamins are so delicate, a lot of those nutrients will likely be lost with all that processing. So I would much rather you eat an apple, you eat the spinach without having to process it and put it into a powder that is convenient. It's bloody expensive, but we don't actually know if it's nutritionally advantageous for us or not. So save your dollars, and I want you to put that money that you've just saved onto a regular delivery of, say, a farmer's fruit and vegetable box. It comes once a week, once a fortnight, to increase your fruit and vegetable intake naturally, because there are so many more nutrients in food that we can't get from a synthetic supplement. So think about all the fiber, think about all our beautiful phytochemicals that you get from eating whole, fresh food. Frozen is fine, and juice and things like that are fine. Canned is also fine because they are locked in the nutrients when they make that product. So for instance, frozen broccoli, they will snap freeze it at harvest. So some even argue that there's more nutrition in things like that in a fresh frozen broccoli than there is than the limp, lanky thing that's been sitting at the bottom of your fruit and vegetable drawer for the last 3 weeks. Finally, another big mistake would be inconsistent hydration or just having no idea of your hydration needs. So many athletes have no idea and often just throw spaghetti at the wall and hope it sticks when it comes to their hydration strategy. Maybe you're popping salt tablets and taking salt pills because you thought that they're good and everyone's doing it. So you're blindly taking some willy-nilly. You don't really know how much to have or how often or anything like that. And probably also not maintaining your hydration on a day-to-day basis. So many triathletes are dehydrated and don't even know it, particularly if you live somewhere really hot and sweaty like I do in Brisbane, Australia. We had a massive heat wave this week and it hit temperatures of 38 degrees Celsius with really high humidity. Now, I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit, but it's bloody hot. And so just maintaining hydration outside of training on days like that can be really challenging and really difficult. And then throw being really sweaty into the mix, then so often triathletes aren't actually keeping pace with their hydration needs. And it is often the fix for so many problems that people don't even think to go down because they drink and they take salt tablets or they have gels with electrolytes in them or sports drinks or whatever, and they think that they're doing okay. But it really is just about dialing that in for you because you are your own little unique special unicorn and you need to understand your body and how it works so that you can get the most out of it. So if you're not paying attention to your hydration strategy, then that is probably costing you because we know that dehydration negatively affects performance and by a lot. The longer we're out there for, the more dehydrated we get, and the hotter it is, the worse it's going to be. So it might be something that you turn your attention to in 2025. So does any of that sound familiar? I say those things because they are the big things that I have noticed triathletes struggle with after working with hundreds of you over my time. Now, the goal is to stop doing those things, stop being weird and wonderful with nutrition, and you need to start treating your body like the high performance machine it is. Your brain is probably there. You probably feel like your mindset is of an elite athlete, but you're not treating your body and your nutrition like an elite athlete. Now, they don't all have it figured out, but they've been working for a long time on the foundations and the fundamentals so that they can do the sprinkles, the 1%ers, and have something for that to stick to. There is no point throwing sprinkles at your strategy if you aren't doing things like eating enough fruit and vegetables on a daily basis. And I know that you're not because not one person at Endurance Essentials this week was doing that either. So it's something that you need to take a step back from for a second and focus on those not so sexy fundamentals like eating enough fruits and vegetables because there is method to the madness and we need all that right fuel and those right building blocks when we do a lot of exercise. So I want you to think about your body as a high performance machine and we're going to put the premium fuel or premium gas into that machine. We're not going to feed it McDonald's and just grab stuff randomly with no strategy. We're actually going to be much more strategic around the types of fuels that we put in our body and when. And that is how you get the most out of your training program. When your fuel tank is full and you can train hard, because the magic happens when you have energy and you're ready to go when the training gets tough. If you are just wearing the fatigue like a badge of honor and going, well, I do triathlon and you're meant to be this tired, then sometimes you don't know how good you can feel until you do feel supercharged and you're like, oh my God, I should have done this before. One of my favorite quotes is, you can't out-train a bad diet. And I feel like triathletes in particular, because you do so much training, like 10, 15, 20 hours of exercise or training in a week, you feel like you can get away with stuff. And maybe you can from a body composition perspective. Not a lot of us can, but a lot of people from a body composition perspective can. But it still doesn't mean that you're putting the premium fuel in the engine. You need to focus on not putting that cheap economy crap in and focus on putting the right things in at the right times to get the most out of your training, because your training program alone is not enough to help you reach your goals in the best shape possible. Now, it's not just me that bangs on about this all the time. Yes, I'm a sports dietitian specifically for triathletes, but so many triathlon coaches and well-performing high-level triathletes and other athletes all over the world know the importance of nutrition in achieving their peak performance. So renowned triathlon coach Matt Dixon, in his book, Fast Track Triathlete, his quote is, "The pillars of performance include not only endurance training, but also functional strength, nutrition, and fueling and recovery." Like, amen, Matt. He recognizes that it's not training alone that is going to help you reach your goals. Dave Scott, one of the greatest athletes ever, has been coaching for more than 40 years. He said triathlon is a complex sport of swimming, cycling, and running, but to truly reach your potential, you must combine these disciplines with vital strength and flexibility and solid nutritional science. Thank you, Dave. Another saying that I really love that I think brings home the message is that athletes eat and train, they don't diet and exercise. And that reminds us that proper nutrition is really integral to an athlete's lifestyle and performance. So think about that for a second. An athlete eats and trains. We don't diet, and a lot of us come from a background of dieting, but we need to not think about fueling our high performance engine as dieting. We need to think about it as eating for the work required and being periodized to our training to get the most out of that. Particularly on race day, nutrition can make or break your day. It's not something that you want to leave to chance. I've seen so many Ironman full distance athletes turn up to race day with no race nutrition plan, which blows my mind that you can do that, or you think that that's okay, particularly how much time and effort and money goes into that race. Like, think about how long you've been training for, how much opportunity you've had to practice your nutrition, how much opportunity you've had to dial in your nutrition to then turn up to the hardest, longest race of your life with no plan. I just don't get it. I'm sorry, I do not get it. I understand that people have no idea how to do nutrition, but there are so many places where you can get good quality advice. It's just about prioritizing that and valuing nutrition as one of the pieces of the puzzle that you need to do and work on relatively quickly. Now, I've seen firsthand as a triathlon dietitian how powerful it can be to get your nutrition right. So I want to share some examples of athletes that I've worked with in the Triathlon Nutrition Academy and how that's changed for them when they've actually worked on their nutrition. You would have heard from Steve Duquette recently, back in episode 171. It was only a couple ago. Steve did a massive 64-minute PB at Sunny Coast 70.3 last year because we finally got his nutrition sorted. He came from a cycling background and he always struggled with cramping. So in the run, he would always cramp up to the point of walking for the whole rest of the race. Now at Sunny Coast, because we've been working together for a while, he didn't cramp at all. And he had the best race of his life. And he actually kind of regrets, in a way, not pushing harder because he was always holding back, worrying that he was about to cramp. So he didn't want to go too hard. So he's got this inner mongrel in him this year to go back and, face his demons and give it a red hot nudge. Another example is Lynn, who came into the program just absolutely shattered, tired and fatigued, struggling with some low energy availability. And she just thought that that was normal. People had told her that, well, you're training for an Ironman, so of course you're going to be tired. Of course you're going to be fatigued. And once we adjusted her fueling and recovery, she's been absolutely smashing it. She's hitting new PBs all over the shop. She qualified for Worlds, and I hope she doesn't mind me saying this because she hasn't quite locked it in yet. but she's gearing up to do another full distance race, something that she had written off as just not possible anymore because her just body wouldn't cope with it. But now that she can fuel herself, she has the confidence that she can do it again and not fall in an absolute hole this time. My third example is Jason. Jason is crazy. It's probably a good way to summarize Jason. He did so many ultra endurance events in 12 months, basically one a month for a year with no nutrition information or plan whatsoever. This guy really needed some support, and he did an over 1 hour PB at Sunny Coast 70.3 also. And that was the first race he ever did with a race nutrition plan. He was turning up to these things with no plan, completely winging it, seeing how he felt on the day. And he absolutely smashed it and smoked everyone and has not looked back. Erin's another great example of somebody that's been doing triathlon for 11 years, never had any nutrition advice until recently. And she has got so many medals and so much bling as a result of working on her nutrition that she's been dubbed the US Aquathon Masters Female Athlete of the Year. She's also lost a whole heap of body fat in the last 12 months, and I'm so proud of everything she's achieved. And I wish she had have worked on her nutrition earlier, but, she's here now. So I could keep going. There are countless examples of athletes and what they've been able to do when they have turned their mind to nutrition and not just smash themselves at training. They've put in all those right building blocks and fundamentals and foundations around their sessions to get the most out of it. So if you're listening along and you're ready to take the guesswork out of your nutrition, that's exactly what I can help you do inside the Triathlon Nutrition Academy program. I have doors open right now, but it's only open for a couple more days until we close down. And then I work with that cohort on their nutrition so they get access to me every week in Power Hour so that your nutrition plan is specific and custom to you. We don't do vanilla here. We don't do generic. We don't do cookie cutter. I'm not going to hand you a generic plan that everyone gets that says, here you go follow this. We're going to work out your nutrition specifically for you. So some of the other things that you get when you join is 36 masterclasses on everything you need to know about triathlon nutrition, swim, bike, run nutrition, and everything that goes with all of your race nutrition as well. Plus, like I said, you have access to me in Power Hours to get unstuck. Make sure your nutrition is working for you and not against you. You also get access and get welcomed into our amazing community of triathletes that are worldwide. We have athletes in the program from America, Canada, the UK, Europe, Australia, New Zealand. At this point, we did have an athlete in Abu Dhabi, but he moved to Australia. So we're slowly ticking off all the continents. But it is a worldwide community and it is an amazing community. It's been one of the happiest parts of my job is seeing everyone connect together and meet in real life at races too. You also get access to our ever-growing dietitian-approved recipe database, which at the moment has over 200 recipes in there to help make eating and cooking and shopping and all those things super easy and stress-free. I'm also giving you a whole year of menu plans to know what on earth to eat for dinner, the shopping list to go and get everything that you need, as well as the recipe to follow. So that there shouldn't be too many barriers and stress and overwhelm when it comes to nutrition because I have all the tools to help fast track you through that. That is my happy place, doing all of that planning and organizing of food. That's my love language. You also get discounts for services and providers that I know are good and you'll like them and they're evidence-based, not because I will ever get kickbacks for them. And I think that's very important. I will always be Switzerland when it comes to supplements. I will not ever get commission for recommending anything because I want to be confident that if I recommend something, it's because it's actually good, not because I'm getting kickbacks and commission on the side to do that. And I think that is a huge problem in the triathlon industry is it's hard to know what is actually good because there are so many commission models going around. So I just wanted to say that up front. I'm quite passionate about being Switzerland. And the best part about the program is it's designed specifically for triathletes like you by a triathlete, although I call myself retired these days, but I did come out of retirement to do a swim last year and I will do it again this year. We've already locked in our Team TNA for Sunny Coast. But why I say that is that I understand the demands of the sport from a knowledge experience as a professional dietitian and working with triathletes for many years to being a triathlete myself. I fully understand what it's like to get up at 4 o'clock every morning and sometimes just not feel like it. I understand how busy it can get when you're working full time. You're trying to fit all this training into a week and maybe you've got family to manage and wrangle through that too. I get it. I get you. I get your lifestyle. And all of the tools and resources in the program are designed to make this easy, not make it another thing that you have to do. Yes, it's going to take you a couple of hours a week. You need to cross out some time for power hour with me because there's so much value in that if you can make it. It does get recorded though if you miss the session, so no stress if life throws you curveballs. And probably an hour to do some work on your nutrition. So watching our masterclass, working out what your plan is, and then use my brain to help you finesse it, tweak it, evolve it, make sure you're not stuck. So if you want to join us, dietitianapprove.com/academy, but you've got to be quick. You've got to lace up your racing flats because doors close again in a couple of short days. So if you're listening to this and you've missed us, then still go to that page and add your name to our cohort list for next time. We will start again in April once these guys are up and running. And if you're on that list, I always send out some special things to you in the emails to say thanks for being on that list. So make sure you register your interest for our next cohort by doing that as well. All right, thank you for listening. I hope that you've enjoyed this new audio and visual experience from my desk. Remember, a great training plan is only going to take you so far. You need to also work on a great nutrition plan to be the best triathlete that you can be. To truly smash your goals, you need to pair it with a smart, evidence-based nutrition strategy and unlock that supercharged zone that I'm talking about where those two things intersect. If you found this episode helpful, please share it with others. And if you are a YouTuber, then please go and subscribe to the Dietitian Approved YouTube and watch along on there. I'm going to work on this little background here. This is just my office wall. I'm going to work on making something look a little bit more visually sexy behind me as we go. Get this lighting sorted. As long as the audio is working, we're good. Thank you for joining me, and I'll talk to you next week.